From IsReal News, this is the midday briefing for Monday, March 16th. U.S. President Donald Trump said the United States would strike an area linked to the Strait of Hormuz and claimed efforts were underway to restore operations there quickly. He also said U.S. and Israeli strikes had hit more than 7,000 targets across Iran since the start of the conflict. This comes as maritime security and global shipping concerns remain tied to developments around the strait. Trump also addressed reports about Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, saying accounts of his condition remain unclear. Earlier reporting cited by British media claimed he survived the initial strike that killed his father after leaving the area shortly before the attack. Inside Iran, state security preparations are reportedly expanding ahead of possible new protests. Reports from BBC and Iran International say authorities have increased checkpoints, tightened internet restrictions, and expanded visible security deployments in Tehran and other major cities. This occurs as officials in Tehran appear to be bracing for both continued strikes and internal unrest. Iranian National Security Council Secretary Ali Larijani issued a public message to Muslim-majority states, accusing them of failing to support Iran and asking where they stand in the conflict. The move reflects Tehran's effort to frame the confrontation as a broader regional and ideological struggle while it continues to absorb military pressure at home. Iran launched missiles toward central Israel after an earlier barrage toward Nahariya in the north. Israeli authorities reported impacts and falling debris in multiple locations, including near Jerusalem, Beit Shemesh, and the Knesset area. In Nahariya, emergency teams treated 6 people for smoke inhalation after a direct strike set a building on fire. This comes as Iran continues attacks on civilian areas across Israel. The Israel Defense Forces say many of the missiles now being fired are cluster-type weapons that disperse over wide areas after interception. IDF spokesperson Brigadier General Efi Diffrin said roughly half of Iran's current fire toward Israel involves these munitions and called their use against populated areas a war crime. Authorities are responding with continued air defense interceptions and renewed public warnings to follow home front command instructions. In central Israel, air defenses were activated again as missiles were intercepted over a broad area. Debris fell in several locations, and emergency services continued to assess damage and injuries. This occurs as repeated launches are creating multiple impact and fragment zones across the country. The Israeli military says it struck the naval headquarters of Iran's Revolutionary Guards over the past day, describing it as a site used to project maritime attacks. The IDF also says the Air Force destroyed an aircraft belonging to the Quds Force. The development follows continued Israeli efforts to target Iranian military infrastructure across multiple domains. The IDF says it also struck another Iranian intelligence headquarters in central Tehran. According to the military, the site belonged to Iran's main intelligence ministry and had been operating from a building associated with the National Electric Company. This comes as Israel expands strikes beyond missile and air defense systems to include command, intelligence, and internal security infrastructure. Military officials say operations continue on additional fronts. In Gaza, the IDF says 7 were killed in the central part of the Strip, including 2 members of Hamas's Nukhba force, who it says took part in the October 7th attack and were planning an imminent operation against Israeli troops. This occurs as fighting continues in parallel theaters. On the northern front, Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir said weakening Iran is already affecting Hezbollah's position. He approved further plans during a visit to Northern Command and said recent ground activity in southern Lebanon is intended to push threats farther from the border. The development follows 2 weeks of intensified Israeli activity against Hezbollah, which the military says has included the killing of more than 400 operatives. In Iraq, a senior figure in the pro-Iranian Kataib Hezbollah militia, Abu Ali al-Askari, was reported killed, apparently in a U.S. strike. Separately, Iraq's Popular Mobilization Forces said 6 of their members were killed and 4 wounded in what they described as an Israeli strike in Anbar province. Reuters also reported 2 drones struck the Majnoon oil field in Iraq. This takes place as the conflict continues to expand across the region. Saudi Arabia says it intercepted 11 drones over Al-Kharj province in recent hours. The developments in Saudi Arabia and Iraq indicate continued spillover beyond the main Israel-Iran theater. Authorities are responding across the region with air defenses and security measures. Those are the latest headlines from IsReal News.